Welcome back to the Coruscant Nights podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Cooper. My co-host, as always, is Jack.
And today we are, unfortunately, no, I'm kidding. We are doing Acolyte episode 4. So we are at the halfway point of the season now. And now, if you want to kick us off, get started, Cooper, what is your thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, okay. All right. So, obviously, coming off of last week, we strongly implied that it was quite a boring and negative episode for Star Wars. And I think that was probably a consensus. There were maybe like, I don't know, maybe 1% of people who thought otherwise and actually quite liked it, and that's fair enough. There were definitely some elements that were good in that episode, but overall it was pretty negative. You came into this week's episode thinking, okay, yep, we need some improvement. Surely they can't go lower than that. Now, I've seen reactions that are heavily negative for this episode, which I personally don't feel are warranted. I thought this episode was more of what I expected the Acolyte to be, which was investigating the mystery, investigating leads, and investigating different like people involved in the mystery. So that's the story wise, I felt that it was on par. It was great to be back in the present day. I was really quite sick of the flashbacks and being on Brendok and just everything. It was good to get the backstory, but after a while, I was just so bored of being there. Um, the the location, Kofar, they shot on location obviously because it looked really beautiful. And I know they had some, Lord of the Ringsy sort of shots, but I didn't hate it. I think it looked okay. But one thing that I really enjoyed about this episode, and this is probably going to annoy you, is I actually really liked the character interactions and the dialogue. I really liked the kind of dynamic between Osha and Jackie as Soul's former Padawan's former Padawan and current Padawan. I thought that they kind of have a mutual understanding of each other, even though they've kind of come from different backgrounds. And I feel like that will lead into more of how Soul, his character, kind of is going to not develop, but I guess come to fruition by the end and see how the events on Brendok really changed him and what actually happened and how he's passed down these kind of actions and behaviors to
Mm,
his Padawans because they're very respectful towards each other and they're very kind of mindful of each other's past and what their environment is. So I enjoyed that. Um, I also quite liked the dialogue between. Okay, let me clarify. I liked the initial dialogue between May and Camilla on Kofar. I didn't like it towards the end, and I'll get into May in a sec. But the whole idea of, um, you know, Camilla questioning, kind of being the audience in a sense, and questioning May about how are you supposed to kill a Jedi without a weapon? It's kind of stating the obvious, and we didn't actually get any sort of answers, which kind of showed the uncertainty that May really has over the whole thing. But I thought that you kind of get a sense that they are like brother and sister and in some weird way, and they're trying to help each other. I'm still not 100% convinced on Camille as not
he's a
being.
hundred. He's 100% the bloody helmet man. There's no way it's not. There's no
Yeah, I don't
zero
know. Depends
zero
on
chance.
yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see next week. But
Yeah,
what else do I want to say? Yeah, May. Okay, here's my main issue with the episode. May and her wanting to change her character not interactions, motivations. Now not wanting to kill the Jedi, gonna hand herself over and should be put in prison, but that's okay because the Master will never find me. What? What? It made you interesting that you were a disciple of the dark side and wanting to kill these Jedi on behalf of the Master and for yourself, for your personal vendetta. So why are you now taking the easy way out just because it's impossible to kill a Jedi without a weapon? It's like, no, that's lazy, that's boring, and you've lost me, you've lost my interest in
it
in
could
this.
be. It could be a deceit on a way
Yeah.
to somehow get close to the Jedi, then to kill him.
It could be. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought it was a very cheap way to
Yeah.
take the character, and I hope that we're not going to continue down that way because I feel
Mm,
like this ending is kind of leading us in an interesting direction. The fact that the master's there to overlook, it was Camille to overlook, and if he's
mm.
not the master, then the master's here to do that. Um, so yeah, I think that'll be really interesting. Speaking of the master, I was very, very impressed with the introduction to him. No dialogue, but felt menacing as heck. My goodness. And I saw some people making a big deal over the fact that he was flying.
Floating,
He's not
floating,
flying, he's floating down.
floating. He's floating.
Fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, really menacing, and I really thought that in the shot on Jack's background that Osha was dead.
Mm.
I thought she got stabbed right through the chest, but no, he just being menacing like Maul in Solo. And then displaying some really cool force powers that we saw in the trailer. But I'm really, really looking forward to seeing some action in episode 5. My goodness, as much as I didn't like the cliffhanger, and I was kind of going throughout the episode, I'm like, oh, we're not going to get that fight by the end. It's just going to end. And it did. But, can't believe I've got to wait another week for that. It's just, it's sad. But, I was, it was good to finally get to see the Master because he'd been alluded to so many times. We'd seen him in the trailer, obviously. Now we finally get him, and hopefully he's going to play a big part in the story. So, yeah, overall, not the best episode I've ever seen. Much better than last week, but. Um, yeah, there were some things I really liked and some positive takeaways from this episode.
Alrighty. So Cooper, I have to commend you for being the level-headed
What do you
person
mean
you.
level-headed? I liked it.
No, this is just my. I'd like to also mention that I was holding my tongue for so much of your opinion, which is always good. And wow, all I need to say is Star Wars, you need to change. You need to make something different because holy wow, I am honestly in shock. After that episode ended, I was like, look, I was trying to be a person on this podcast as a Star Wars fan to be like, optimistic, even after the utter garbage episode 3 was. And this just made it much worse. I cannot fathom what I just watched. It was the worst dialogue I've ever seen between any interactions. The Yord and Osha on the field felt so forced and so cringe. Soul's one with every character just felt so like he was making it seem like he was unintelligent, which we all know he is. And I don't know why he's being blinded kind of by this old past kind of stuff. Just get it out of your chest, mate. Just be open about it. Why are you holding this in? It's annoying me. And then the Kamir acting all silly and oh, he's just clumsy and all. He's just, somehow knows the master, but also doesn't want to say how he knows the master. Oh, it's so Disneyfied. It's so bad. It's the way it just cut at the end once again, utter hot garbage editing from these people making this
Yep.
stuff. The script writing is horrible. The camera angles are no good. The weird Basil man, even though he was probably my favorite bit of the episode because of how weird he is and just unnecessary it is. Cooper, I'm honestly like, I turned it off straight away and was like, I threw the remote and I was like, this is bad. I was like,
Yeah.
this, we're not coming back from this. I'm gonna force myself to watch the rest of this show. It better get better, or I'm gonna have some serious issues. And I know no one's gonna care about me having serious problems with the show, but it is honestly letting me down to the point of like, how everyone's like, oh, Star Wars is dead and everything. I was like, you know what? Nah, one thing can't ruin it. What am I watching? This is not Star Wars. This is a fan fiction, not even a good fan fiction. This is horrible. This is utter trash. Like the costume. The only good thing about this episode is kind of the visual effects of his force push on the Jedi and the way he floats down. I actually thought was the better thing, and the visual of the forest beforehand. I wanted to see some cool Kalnaka action. Just dies in it. He's just dead in a chair. Bro, they actually hate fans. Why they everything we want to see is just being not happening. This is hot garbage, Cooper. This is
I,
trash.
I don't think I think they sacrificed Kalnaka for the greater mystery and
Oh
kind of
wow.
hyping up the bad
Agree.
guy.
It's not
But,
hype.
hang on. There is trailer footage of Kalnaka in action, so you don't need to
Wow, he
worry. We're gonna get it.
survives.
You're gonna get
He
it.
survives from some
He
mystical spray,
survives.
some mystical spray, or we see him fight this master just 10 minutes before, and then the master places him in the chair for suspense for the audience. Wow, this is honestly, I don't want to say I'm done, but after watching that made me lose so much hope in everything. It made me question myself as a fan, and it makes me feel so idiotic on why I am persisting with trying to support this show. I have wanted to be on the level playing field. I'm still giving it a chance. I can't believe I'm still giving it a chance after halfway through a season of absolutely nothing. Boring, loads of garbage of what am I watching, wasting my time, getting excited for no reason. It is nothing. I swear we got the same shot of this forest like 8 times in the same in this one episode. This bloody plant life thing that Camille got tied up. I'm like, haven't we already seen this one setting before already? I'm like, this is bad. The way Soul ignites his lightsaber, then cuts down that creature and acted like he was some sort of badass. I was like, this stinks. This reeks of horribleness. And then we got what's her name, Osha, like, oh, I'm suddenly recently just connecting myself. I could feel it. Oh my. Put me out of end my misery, Cooper. End it. I cannot really understand why they have thought this is a good show to pass on and even approve. And I can't believe I feel like so far, if there is some sort of gleaming hope at the end of the second half of this show, why have they released it weekly? Because this has made it so much worse already.
Yep.
And maybe it might be better as a whole binge watch, but wow, this is bad. This is really bad. I thought the Bad Batch was bad, but nah, this stinks. This reeks.
So I agree with your point about the binging, and now having seen like 4 episodes, and literally they all, not only do they all like
They haven't
lead
had
into
any
each other,
substance.
but like it's such an abrupt end to each
There's
episode.
no
I just
substance in each episode, which has really, really aggravated me because when I look at it, when you look at it in hindsight, Cooper, this episode gave us absolutely nothing and progressed the plot into really nothing because we already knew what we were going to get. I read the title, read the caption. We're finally going to get to Kalnaka. Wow, we got the trailer shot. Wow, we got another trailer shot. Wow, what has actually happened? Absolutely nothing.
Well, I mean, we know that May and Camille were going after Kalnaka, obviously
We already
after
knew that.
we did know that, but we
Knew
finally
it.
got there. That was the
Wow.
next story. What?
And this
You
just
want to
ended
just
in two
skip over
seconds.
it? Oh, we're gonna go
No,
after Kalnaka. Oh no, we're on Coruscant
why do we
now.
have to have these unnecessary dialogues and unnecessary bloody action, not action
Character
things?
development.
Character, yeah, I would like character development if they had some brainiacs in the writing room because wow, this is utter garbage. A 2-year-old can write better than this, Cooper. This stinks. I can't defend it. It unless it improves in the second half. How would this even improve in the writers? I know people make jokes about the writing room all the time, but they actually must be like thick in the head. That it is bad. It's not even like remotely like salvageable. It is just bad. I look, audience, I know you probably don't want to hear rants, or maybe you do want to hear rants, but I have never once, even from my disappointing Book of Boba Fett video, I actually wasn't that mad, and now this has made me even more mad. And that's saying something. I am a passionate. I live my life through Star Wars. That sounds boring and it sounds lame, but I love Star Wars. And this has I have no idea why this is even a thing. Honestly, get rid of it, scrap it. I saw it. I saw actually. I'm getting up close and personal with you guys now. I saw a TikTok the other day, and I have never resonated with it more. It said maybe I treated you too harshly with the Thanos meme of the sequel trilogy. Think I have. Think I have treated you too harshly. I would honestly, at this point in time, rewatch The Last Jedi 3 times and even watch another second of this show. It is so bad.
Okay. I don't think as a whole the first half of the show hasn't been amazing, but I don't think it's
That's
been
an
as
understatement.
dog water as you're suggesting.
Are you serious? You can't
I
tell me
think,
these
hang
four
on,
episodes
hang
are
on,
good.
hang on. We are 100 years before anything else, or before the Skywalker saga. Something has to be the foundation or the basis for the whole entire time period.
We should have kept it like that. It's boring. If this is what has been happening in the past 100 years, why are we getting a show on it when there's absolutely nothing happening?
I just think that you can't expect the first thing in a new part of the galaxy time period to be amazing. And now I know you might say, oh, well, A New Hope was pretty good. Well, that was the first one. Like, that's that's what started it. This is not meant to be a main installment into the
I
thing. It's
have
meant
I
to
have a
start a
simple
time period.
I have a simple word for you. An acronym as you wish, as you will. Kotar.
Yeah, I mean,
If
that's
you
fine.
if
Do
you're
that.
using that, if you're using what you just said as a reason to make this show fine, we go back to the old Republic, we would have unreal scenes, we would have unreal events unfolding in the galaxy. This just feels like child's play. This feels like absolutely nothing we need to watch.
I don't disagree with you, but the Old Republic is set 5,000 years before. Like,
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If this 100 years before is literally not giving us any sort of additional information into what we know from the prequel trilogy, why are we getting this? It's meant to be a unique insight into the galaxy 100 years before, and it honestly just feels like a much worse anything you could ever imagine. How do these guys own like you know what I mean? How they're meant to be in their height, the Jedi's height. These Jedi's look absolutely pathetic. They look like someone I could just step on their toes and they would scream in pain and fall over like they've been shot. They don't look any sort of bit strong. They don't look wise in any way. It really is aggravating me.
okay.
Watching this, I feel like they're just the most C level, not even D level tier Jedi. You give me Plo Koon, you give me Kiadi Mooney, they'll wipe the floor with these. You give him, what's his name? Coleman Trebor wipes the floor with Master Soul and all these people. B Tech in like prequel Jedi would absolutely mop the floor with these people. Not even a competition. You can't tell me any of these Jedi here pose any sort of strength so far, what we've been given.
We haven't seen him in action.
Exactly. That's why it reeks. It stinks. It's boring. It's a boring
No,
show.
no,
It is
no,
boring.
no, no, no. You can't say it reeks when we haven't seen it yet.
We've gotten 4 episodes, and in these 4 episodes, we don't need really anything from it. We have not really gotten any cool content from these 4 episodes. If you're going to say we're going to base the show off the next four, only half of a season of a show to be good, what's the point? What is the
Okay,
point if
that's
four
fair.
episodes of
That's
an
fair.
eight? Like, this is what I'm saying. If it is the case that the next four are really good, then make it into a movie and cut out the garbage. Simple. Simple as that. You
They
know,
needed the first two episodes to establish the story and the
the
setting.
first two
Just saying
fine.
that
I'll
you
give
didn't
it that.
need these two episodes. I'll admit. As
Yeah,
much as
the
I
first
liked
two
this
I'll give them that.
episode, didn't need this one and the last one.
Last episode's flashback didn't even give us the complete backstory of
Correct.
what actually happened, meaning we're gonna have to go back again later on in the future episodes. And then later again, we're gonna get some weird connections, or like what now, May and Osha are gonna become the Jedi Force side again, like Kylo and Rey at the end of like there's gonna be like a duo strong Jedi fighters. Like, oh, it's so cringe, it's so poor, and it really just it makes me myself. I don't know about you. I know you like this episode. I guess you could say it makes me just feel like that. It feels like they're making me feel stupid as a Star Wars lover. It makes me feel
Really?
insulted personally. Watching the
Really?
episode was like I would literally the CW would give us a better Star Wars show currently than Disney. You put the CW in their cringe cheesy writing, I would still enjoy it more than this, and that says something. Like,
Hmm.
I am really disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Amazon would do a better job. Fox would do a better job. HBO would do a better. Literally anyone could do a better job with this right now. I'm honestly baffled how this was approved. It's really freaking me out right now, and it's stressing me out for the future of Star Wars. That's all I'm saying. I'm very, very scared. I've never been more scared in my life for Star Wars,
Wow.
and that says something.
That does say
I've been
something.
optimistic to the I have tried, and I'm still going to try. But if nothing changes from how I think about the show now to the end of the entire season, I don't know. I'm going to be one interesting man after that.
Can I propose a comparison for you?
Yeah, of course. Get me.
So now, obviously, Marvel. I know we don't talk a lot of Marvel because we're a Star Wars channel, but we do
Yes,
like
yes, yes.
Marvel.
We do
Now,
like Marvel.
Marvel is currently in not a fantastic state, but let's go back, I don't know, couple years, maybe 5, 6 years.
I'm ready.
What would you classify as the worst Marvel movie in the MCU?
Are you talking about?
In the
Because I would
Infinity
say,
Saga, in the Infinity Saga.
okay, for the Dark World.
Dark World. So, could you not consider the Acolyte the Dark World? And when after the Dark World released, you were thinking, "No, I'm done. I've lost all hope in Marvel. It's so negative." And then they produced the greatest movie ever, superhero film ever. Actually, that's a stretch. They
So
produced a fantastic superhero film.
you really want me to
Plus,
answer that? You really want me to answer that?
go. I want to
How
hear
many
your response.
chances are we going to give Disney for it to actually be
Oh,
successful?
Disney,
They ma
Disney,
You
Disney,
can't make
Disney.
one project every 5 years that is actually somewhat good. That is not a pass of approval. And especially when nowadays Disney are on the verge of like ruining so many different franchises, not just Star Wars, but also Marvel, and even also what's it called? All their animated projects and stuff too. They're not doing that hot and they're not that great either. So you got to look at it as a standpoint that they're in a pile of trash compactor. Let's just say that they are not in a good position right now. They are getting squashed. The walls are closing in very fast, and they don't know what to do. They're throwing money away at people in the wrong areas. They are not hiring proper writers. They are cutting loose. They're cutting corners. They're not really in it for the passion that back in the day you would have gotten. As much as people like to say, let's go back to George Lucas. Let's go back to George Lucas. All good and well. I want to go back to George Lucas too. However, we can't say that he's also a masterpiece in screenwriter because he's not. However, at least those movies had fun. You had fun watching them. You enjoyed watching them. This one's painful making me sit through this. I was starting to lose bloody, what's it called? Lose my focus watching this. I was like, is anything actually going to happen? I was like, I paused it right before May walked into Kalnaka's hut. And I'm like, what we're about to end and nothing's happened. I was like, oh my gosh. It's just so frustrating, Cooper. I can't handle it. I guess yeah, I'm gonna
Mm.
explode.
See, I'm really upset that the Star Wars community is so negative about this, and
No, but
I'm
you can't. No, but see, that's the annoying thing. You can't just be like the Star Wars community is negative. And I know people like to be toxic for the sake of being toxic, but yeah, I'm not gonna overlook. I'm not gonna fake my. I'm not gonna be like, wow, this episode it was so mid to low. It was so below average. It's not even funny. Like I was watching it with a non-Star Wars fan just before too, and they even laughed at how what the hell just happened. Like they literally laughed so out loud when that screen, like when it cut to black and the credits rolled. I turned it off and I was just like, I feel disrespected as an avid watcher of Star Wars. I threw the remote and I texted Cooper. I was like, when are we getting on this podcast? I need a rant. I'm so annoyed.
well, I mean, look, we can only hope that the
Can
next four
only get better,
episodes
I
are
hope.
and I know a lot of Star Wars fans have given up, and I mean, that's fair enough. It's their opinion. I
They
just
have their
feel
right.
like I know everyone's entitled to their opinion, but the initial reaction before it even released, the negativity around this show has driven a lot of the
Oh
negativity
yes,
after its release.
I will stand by that. However, this has not tainted this show for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
no.
always had a bad opinion about Bad Batch, but I still gave it a chance. I still watched it. I still went through with it. I wasn't the targeted audience, I guess, for it, but people still liked it, right? And people still, talk bad about the second season of that one. But anyway, I obviously we obviously knew about all the bad negative reviews about this getting review bombed and everything. Fair enough. People are always going to be, even if they think it's good, they're going to say it's bad just to jump on the bandwagon, as you can say. However, I could be a fan. Like I feel very hurt as a Star Wars fan right now. However, I'm still going to watch the next 4 episodes. I'm not going to be like, oh, Star Wars is dead. But my opinion is that Star Wars does need to change because this is not what I don't think anyone has asked for or wants to see. Like you can say this episode was okay, but we could do so much more in this time period. We could do so much better in this. We could be so much more creative in this time period. And what have we been given? The most bleak, bland, AI generated feels show ever. Like what is happening? Who is this Basil guy? Who is Basil? Who is this dude? Oh gosh.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
bloody Baz.
Baz,
Yeah,
Baz,
Baz.
the
I think
Baz.
he's the greatest thing from this episode, honestly.
I was watching Real Rejects,
Mm.
their reaction to it,
Shout out
and
to the real
one
rejects.
of them was like, oh, it's just merchandise. That's the only reason he's there.
But I don't think they're gonna sell that. I don't think they're gonna sell
I don't think they're gonna
Basil.
sell anything from the Acolyte. Maybe they'll
If
do a
they're
Lego set
lucky, if they're lucky, this guy's minifig or something on a ship or something. I don't know.
or like a
Look,
Hasbro helmet.
yeah, it could be. Look, the only positive I can take from watching this episode is that we are only yet to see a few more scenes from the trailer, and then the rest is absolutely new.
Hmm.
And that could be good, or it could be utter garbage. Don't know. However, that actually given me more optimism because everything is basically new now. Okay, but
Oh God,
it, it, if
you're so
if
funny.
if the master takes off his helmet and they do the older Disney like, oh, it's you. Oh my gosh, bro. I'm gonna I'm actually gonna be that meme that I don't even know where he's from, but he just flops on the ground like
Yeah.
powers down. Do, 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 do. That's gonna be me. Oh, dies from cringe. That's actually
Oh,
that's actually me right now. Literally
that's
me.
you.
Uh
All right.
That's all I have to say about this one, Cooper.
That's all you
Honestly,
have to say.
what
I'm
more
pretty
can I
much
say?
done as
See
well.
my
There are a couple little like things in there. But I mean, I guess I
niche
mean
things.
the whole point
The
of
creature
this
looked cool, I guess.
the creature.
The one that
Yeah,
Soul
the shots of the
chopped.
creature looked pretty good, I
Design.
reckon.
His design looked all right. His
The
design
one
looked
where it was
okay.
kind of hovering before it went to attack. I
Hmm.
thought that was
Hmm.
you hadn't seen something like that in Star Wars before. It's more of a
I just didn't like how Soul like
monsterverse shot.
is it just maybe it's because there's so many Jedi there too. And I know this guy's meant to be powerful in the Force, but I don't know if it just be. I know he forced them all. Cool shot, but it just doesn't make me feel like. Maybe it's also because the Jedi just haven't been painted in a strong light right now to me, and it's really bugging me because they just look so pathetic. And I know that's kind of the point. I know people are trying to say that's the point, they're kind of fragile, they're not as good as they say they are, but it really irritates me. It bugs me a lot. You know what I mean? It just makes it feel like they're dogging on like they're dog pooing on the Jedi. I'm like, why does everything have to be bad about the Jedi? We've already had them being blinded and everything. I want to see the height of the Jedi, which is like what they're proving to us. But all we're getting proven to is one meat dude can take out 10 Jedis in one force push. Oh, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't know what their vision is for this entirety of the whole season, and I'm very interested to see what their overall moral of the kind of
Mm,
story is, I guess you could say. But wow, I thought it couldn't get any worse from episode three. This is better than episode three, but it is by a slim margin. Not even by a huge margin. It is slim. Very slim.
Slim.
Slim shady slim. It is it's man. Disappointed I am, Cooper.
Well,
Disappointed.
I mean, we've got apparently season two's happening, or it's
Oh no, please.
apparently it's happening.
Oh, please.
As long as they go with something different, as in like
As
story
long as they make
wise.
it good. Just make a good thing, please. It's not that hard. Do the most
Oh,
basic story ever. Make it good though.
I've got a question for you that
Yes,
we haven't
hit me.
discussed.
Hit me.
Um, we obviously thought it was going to happen last week. It didn't. It wasn't as explicit as we heard it. But
Hmm.
what did you make of the he they scene, the pronoun scene,
Which one was it?
the one on the ship where Osha's asking Jackie about Basil, and she's like,
Oh,
"Is he
yeah.
they?"
No, I think this is because no, see, yeah, I don't know if that should be read too much
Yeah,
because I
no,
think
I
that's
don't
just
either.
because he's a creature.
I just
Like I call it an it or a they too because he's a creature.
yeah,
He's not a
yeah,
he's not a life form. Like,
yep.
he's a life form. He's not a what's it called? A what's the word? He's a being. He's just
He's
not
a
a
creature.
yeah. He's a creature. Like it's like Chewy. You would call it a they or an it. Like even
Oh,
though it sounds kind of mean. Like or you call them Wookiees, right? We don't know what this creature is, and she doesn't know what the creature is either. So you don't call it an he or a
yeah.
she. It's called a they kind of thing.
Mm.
That's just a general pronoun for it. Not
The only
really a.
reason I asked is because I thought that because everyone was making such a big deal about it, like happening last episode or gonna happen in the show, and then I'm like, if the intention was to put a scene like that in this show, I think that and this was it, I think they've done it very well. They've disguised any sort
Also,
of agenda.
but that's what I'm saying. But it feels like it's unnecessary to even speak about it if it's about a creature. If it was about a person, it might have been a bit more
Well,
talked about.
so if I didn't have the assumption
You
or
wouldn't
like
have thought of it.
context that they were gonna put something like this in the
You wouldn't
show,
have noticed it properly.
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have
I mean,
known.
I watched that today, and I was. It's funny you said that because I was thinking about that too. But then I was like, it probably is what they were talking about. But at the same time, like that shouldn't matter because it's a creature, and I would call it a they too if I didn't know
Yeah.
what gender they are. Like it's just
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like calling someone like just a general kind of term before
Yeah.
you ask them, kind of thing.
And look, we've got no prejudice or anything
No,
here
no,
at Coruscant Nights. It was
no.
just more under like looking at
Why
what
was it made such a
the
big
media was
deal?
saying about it and
Yeah,
then, seeing it in the show. I guess it was going to be fascinating to see
yeah.
what it was
Or
going to be
especially
like.
if it is that. Why was it so taken out of like context? Well, actually, now that no critics have seen past this
Mm,
episode, so
hmm.
interesting to say
Yeah.
the least.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
Oh,
That everything?
yeah, that's everything.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to episode 4 of the Acolyte, our thoughts and discussion. If you aren't already following us on social media, please do. We are at Coruscant Nights. A big special thank you to our patrons, Ben, Keita, Sebi, Caleb, and John. We appreciate you all very much. If you want to become a patron like them, it is free. We'll leave the link in the description below, or you can use the QR code on the screen now to learn more. We'd love
Mm,
to have you over in our Patreon. It would be really awesome. Get exclusive videos, some behind the scenes, and member shout out, obviously. So, yeah.
yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week for episode 5.
See you next week,
Have a
guys.
good one.